Hey y'all, I guess you're back for Titan 9M, so here it is. This is what it looks like. It's going to be the most challenging part to date, but I think you're going to really enjoy it, and you're going to need some of these design techniques for future projects. Let's begin. So we got sheet 1 in front of you for Titan 9M, and what we can see here is we're going to have a few angled lines, a lot of tangent circles, but nothing here that we don't already really know how to do. So let's hop into Fusion and begin right after saving our work and creating our first sketch and renaming it in a new component because we already know how to do that. Alright, see you there. Alright, work is saved, new component made, and a new sheet named. And so let's create 4 circles, and we'll create the first one on the origin, and we'll place the other 3 in roughly the shape you see on the screen. Then we'll dimension one hole 0.075, and then we can use the equals constraint to dimension the other 3. Just make them all equal. Saves us a bit of time. Next, we'll use the horizontal vertical constraint to place these holes horizontal and vertical to each other. There we go. Then we will use D for dimension, and we'll dimension the locations of these holes. So origin to that point, 5.25 is our measurement. We'll select origin to this circle, 1.15, enter for that dimension. And the rest are all good because we used the horizontal vertical constraint. We'll place a circle right here. We'll give it a dimension of 1.9 and enter. And now what we can do is create the dimensions to locate it. 2.625, enter, and the origin to the center of that hole, or that circle, 0.575, enter. And now all of our geometry is in the right spot, and we can continue on with the next step. So next, we're going to create a couple more circles. This one is going to be a dimension of 1.05. Enter. And we're going to create one more in the center, and we're going to create it with a diameter of 1, and we're also going to click on it and turn it into a construction line by hitting X. We need that for the tangent lines. Last thing we need to do is create the radiuses on the ends of the part. We'll do that with the circle command. We'll drag it out, 0.6, enter. Same thing on the other end. Create a circle, 0.6, enter. And then we'll use a tangent constraint to place them tangent to those 2 circles. Like that. Click our circle, click there, click our circle, click there, and we get it tangent. Now it's time to put our tangent lines in. So we'll use L for line. We'll click on the upper half of that circle, and we'll drag it and click and hold and drag it around till it touches that large circle above the halfway point. Same thing, click and hold, drag it out, click and hold, drag it out, click and hold, drag it out. Got to be clicking and holding in the right spot. We'll use tangent constraint, and we're going to click on that line. We'll click on our construction line. Click on a line, click on our construction line. Click on a line, click on our construction line. Click on a line, click on our construction line. And there we go. Looking good. We'll finish our sketch. We'll do extrude, and we'll extrude by clicking the parts we want to extrude. There, 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 and then negative 0.75, enter. Looking good. Last thing we got to do is just do some fillets. So we'll click on fillet. We're going to click on the edges. There's 4 of them that we need to fillet. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll type in 0.3 for our dimension. Enter. And there we go. Sheet 1 is done. Let's move on to sheet 2. Alright, so here in sheet 2, we're going to add 4 holes. They're counterbores, and we're going to create the cutouts on the side profile that give it that new shape using a revolve command. So let's get started. Alright, so to begin, we're going to turn sheet 1 on because we're going to use the geometry on that sheet to place our holes. So let's click the eyeball and make the sheet 1 visible. Then we're going to go up to the hole command, and we're going to select those 4 points in the corners where the counterbores need to be. That looks good. Now we'll go to our hole dimensions. We're going to do it all the way through. We're going to make sure counterbore is selected. Hole type is just a standard typical one. Drill point is fine. So our counterbore diameter is going to be 0.380. Our counterbore depth is going to be 0.25. And the through hole diameter is going to be 0.25. So once that's entered, we can hit OK, and we have a lovely part with 4 counterbores. Turn off that sketch, and looks good. So now we can move on to profile next. So to do that, we're just going to select the line tool, and we'll sketch out a rough shape of what our revolving cutting tool is going to look like, which pretty much to do that we're going to need to put a mid plane, so you can go ahead and do that, or through the part. We're going to need to use some constraints, so we want to make that one parallel with the edge. We've done this before, but what we'll do is we'll go up to the construct menu, we'll go to mid plane, and we'll click on one side of the part. The other side creates that middle plane that we can draw on. We'll hit OK, and looks good. The only other problem is we have nowhere to snap to when we do our revolve, so we need to create a point in the center of that top circle. So if we go down to point at center of circle and click on the edge, we get that beautiful point right in the middle. So hit OK, and now we can start our sketch and begin the profile that we're going to revolve. Alright, so to begin the profile for a revolve, we'll start line, and we'll just draw out a rough shape that looks kind of like this on your screen. It's similar in shape to what the revolve is going to be. The point is to just get a sketch out, and we'll dimension it. We'll go up to the constraints now. We'll grab a horizontal vertical constraint, and we'll make these lines horizontal and vertical. That one's already been done. Next, we'll dimension from the center point to here, 0.688, enter. And then we'll do the same thing to this line, 1.621, enter. And our last dimension we need to do from this line to this line, a dimension of 0.25, enter. Now we need to move this into place. We'll use the coincidence, and we'll click on that line and the top edge of our part, and it'll move it up into place. And we'll be all set to revolve. So we'll finish our sketch. We'll do a home view. We'll go to the create menu, and we'll get the revolve command. We'll select our profile we just made. We'll select our axis being the bore of that hole, And it should look like this. Hit OK. Make sure it says cut. Then hit OK. And there's our profile. We'll turn off the sketch so that we don't have to look at those lines. We'll rename this sketch that we just did with the profile, sheet 2/profile, or revolve, whatever works for you. And we'll turn off the other sketch, and there we go. That's what our part should look like at this point in time. So let's carry on. Last thing to finish up is the two fillets and the chamfer. So we'll go to the fillet menu, and we'll grab the fillet tool and hit these two edges. So fillet, and click the two lines, 0.5, enter. Then we'll do the same thing on the edge. It has a different chamfer than everything else. So we're going to go up to the modify menu, and we'll grab the chamfer tool. We'll click on the top edge here that's different from the rest, and we're going to type in 0.025 and enter, and there we go. Save our work, and that's the end of sheet 2. Alright, so here on sheet 3 we can see that in the center we're going to have to turn that into a counter bore and create the two pockets on either side. So I'm going to learn a few new techniques here to make that happen, so let's begin. So we'll start off sheet 3 by creating the bore in the center. We can do this quicker by just creating a new sketch on top and renaming it sheet 3 bore. And rather than using the whole command, we can do this just as quick this way. So we're going to create a circle and snap it to the center of that bore. And we're going to do a dimension of 1.25, enter. We'll finish the sketch. We'll turn the sketches on because they were turned off. We'll get extrude. And it might take a little bit of finagling and zooming in and out just to be able to select the center part there. And then negative 0.5, enter. And there's our bore. Pretty quick. Turn off the sketch, save our work. So on the sheet here, we're going to create these complex pockets. And it's going to just take some geometry to figure that out. So let's go back into Fusion, and we'll create a new sketch called pockets, and we'll get going on with that. Now that we've already got our sketch called pockets set up, we'll start sketching. We'll create a circle at the center of the bore, and we'll label it 1.95. We'll need this for later. We're going to create 3 more circles, 0.75 for the first one, and we'll just draw it outside part like this, 0.75 for the second one, and we'll create a third one on the part, 0.651 right there. Now we need to make the circles concentric using the concentric constraint with that hole there, circle concentric with that hole, and we'll use the tangent constraint to make this circle tangent with both of those two circles, like that. Next step, we're going to draw in some lines. We'll just draw them roughly like this, and then once that's done, we'll go up to constraints, parallel, and we'll make the lines parallel with the edge of the part. Click there and there, and there and there. Then we're going to use the dimension tool to dimension the length or the locations and the lengths of the lines off the edge. So we're going to type in 0.15, enter, and do the same thing down below. Click the line, click the edge, 0.15, enter. And now we can go to modify, extend, and we'll extend those lines up to the geometry shown, the two circles and the large bore. Like that. So next we need to add some fillets and do the extrusion, but first we need to break some lines to make everything work out well. So in order to do that, we'll have to go up to the modify menu, get break, And then we're just going to click on this line here, break. You see the X's tell you what's going to break, and break it there, and now we can go to fillet, and we can click here, and we can click here, and we can type in a radius of 0.255. We won't hit enter. Instead, we'll go around and select the other parts that need a fillet of 0.255, which is here and here, and here and here, and here and here. Now we can hit enter, and it looks good. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to mirror the part over. So we'll create a mirror line, snap to the center, bring it up, hit enter. We'll select it, turn it into a construction line, and we'll also just double check if you're not sure if it's absolutely vertical with a vertical constraint. We'll select on mirror, we'll double click our line, selects most of it, we'll have to shift or control click on the other one. Then we can click mirror line, we can click mirror, and there we go, looking good. Alright, so to finish up, we'll finish sketch and hit home view, and we can then begin the extrusion. Okay, let's do the extrusion. So if we were to extrude it doing the normal extrusion process, we would get a flat bottom. So let's see what that would look like. We click those parts, we type in an extrusion distance of what doesn't matter right now. We'll just extrude it down into the part. And what we see is that the bottom of the extrusion is flat. And we don't want that. We want the bottom of the extrusion to follow the profile of the part with a sloped side. So we're going to do it this way. Extrude, we'll select our pieces as usual. But this time, instead of leaving it as distance, we're going to click on to object. So we're going to extend it to the object. The object is going to be the sloped surface there. Just like that. Click there. Don't worry about the error. Doesn't matter. We're going to type in and change this from offset. We're going to type in negative 0.325. And that's going to extrude it down past the surface, negative 0.325. We also, where it says extend, we want to change that option to adjacent faces. Click there and make sure it says cut, which it does. Hit OK, and there's our pockets, and they follow the shape of the part with a sloped side. Beautiful. Now we just need to do the fillet command and put a 1/4 inch fillet in there. So fillet, click on the two edges and type in 0.25, enter, and that's it. Looking good. So let's finish up by chamfering all the edges. So we're going to click on chamfer, we'll click on this edge, and the other two edges of the counterbores, looking good there. And let's do the edge of the pocket, looks good. The edge of the hole, good. And the bottom of the part, looks good. Let's do the bottom of the bore, the bottom of the counterbore, through holes, and looks good. So as per usual, 0.01, enter, and there we go. The Titan 10M completed. Save your work, and it's time to finish up this series with the Titan 10M next.